what memory card do you really need? I'll explain to you if you watch this video. Last week I created a 60-second YouTube short on how to take a photo with your camera. Seemed pretty basic, but how often have you handed your camera to someone at a family outing to take a group picture and they look at you as, how do I take a picture? That's why I made that video. So let's get into SD cards. What SD cards are you putting in your camera? Let's find out which one you need and how many. So let's first start with how many. I want a minimum of 2 memory cards, two memory cards. You need 2 for a couple of reasons. One's going to fail someday, it might be full someday, or you're going to go on a longer trip and you need extra cards for photos because you can't get back to your motel or you can't get back to your house to pull the photos off the memory card. So at least 2. So let's talk about the kinds of memory cards you can have. Let's talk about the size of the cards. I have a 2 GB card. I don't know where I got it, how long I've had it, but I bet you probably can't find one in most camera stores. You might find it in a thrift store somewhere. Don't buy it. You can get 8 GB, 16 GB, 32 GB, 64, 128, 512. And probably that's the largest you're going to find on the market right now, while the capacity is up higher. But as an amateur photographer, you probably don't need much more than a 16 GB card. So that's where we'll start. So start with a 16 GB card if you're trying to save on a budget. I prefer you get a 32 or 64 byte card, but if you're trying to cut on a budget, go with a 16 GB card. So that's the size. So now let's talk about speed. The industry, and this is where it gets confusing. If you look at your memory card, there's probably a number on there that says 90 megabytes per second, or 45 megabytes per second, or 30 megabytes per second. That is the read speed. That is not the write speed. So let's talk about how to figure that out. There's 2 classifications for a photographer to pay attention to. There's another one for videographers, but we're just talking photographers here. And one of them really belongs to videographers too, but let's talk about the 2 that I want you to know. So first one is the letter C with a number in it. That number will be a 2, 4, 6, or 8. A 2 means it writes, not reads, writes at 2 megabytes per second. A 4 is 4 megabytes per second. A 6 megabytes per second, and obviously then 10 would be 10 megabytes per second. That's a pretty fast card. So let's look at the next designation. That's a letter U, and that was part of a new bus that they put on the memory card called Ultra High Speed, UHS. So a UHS 1 card, it's probably the more common card. There's a UHS 2, most cameras that I have dealt with, even my high-end 5D Mark IV, does not support the USH 2 card. It'll have a letter U with a number in it, a 1 or a 3. A 1 means the minimum speed of write will be 10 megabytes per second. If it has a 3, the minimum write speed will be 30 megabytes per second. Not the 45 or 90 that you see on the card. That is the read-write. That is the read-only speed, not the write speed. So let's look at some testing. I have, like I said, I have a 2 GB card, I have a 16 GB card, a 32, and a 64. And I have some with a designation of 10 with the letter C. I have some designations with a 1 with a U in it, and I have a designation with a 3 with the letter U. So I will show you the differences of those 3 speeds. Even though one of the cards says 90 megabytes per second, it does not really pull 90 megabytes per second on the write. It does on the reads, but not the writes. And realize that those numbers are approximations, not guarantees. It all depends on a lot of things. The testing I did, I had my SD card directly connected to my computer inside the slot on my computer. I tried testing with a card reader and I did not get as fast as speeds. So if you're running some type of test to verify the speed, it varies. Don't get stuck on the speed. As an amateur photographer, if you have a USH 1 with a 1 in the U, that's probably good enough for you. If you can do any type of video, and this is where the U comes into play with videos, they say the minimum you should have a U3 card classification for videos. So which video card are you putting in your camera? If you like my videos, hit the subscribe and the like button, and I'll see you next week. This is Doug Gabbard for Practice Photography, getting better 1 photo at a time.